What if I told you that tonight, doing something as ordinary as opening your refrigerator, you might be silently activating a mechanism that lays the groundwork for one of the deadliest cancers in existence? Not in 10 years, not in 20, right now. Week after week, meal after meal, without a single warning sign. I know, it sounds excessive, it sounds dramatic. Until the moment you sit across from me in my office and ask me, looking me straight in the eyes, "Doctor, how did this happen?" And I have no easy answer to give you. Because what happened is the silent accumulation of hundreds of small, ordinary moments. Moments exactly like the one you might live tonight when you pull a leftover from the fridge and press that button. My name is Dr. Louisa Hard, and today I am done keeping this information behind closed clinic doors. There are 5 foods that hundreds of millions of people reheat every single week. 5 foods that look completely harmless. 5 foods that smell exactly the same the second time around. 5 foods that your senses will never, ever warn you about. And what happens inside each of them the second time heat touches them is something most people will go their entire lives without ever knowing. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly which 5 foods are the most dangerous to reheat, what they chemically transform into inside your body when you press that button, and why that transformation is directly connected to one of the cancers with the lowest survival rate in all of modern medicine, pancreatic cancer. And before we go any further, I need you to understand something that changes everything about what follows. Your pancreas never warns you. It does not hurt when it is being damaged. It does not swell. It does not send you signals while the destruction quietly accumulates inside it over months and years of daily habits you never thought twice about. By the time you feel something alarming enough to see a doctor, the cancer has already, in the overwhelming majority of cases, spread beyond the point where anything meaningful can be done. The 5-year survival rate is under 12%. 12%. Let that land for a moment. 12%. That number is why absolutely everything I am about to show you matters so deeply. Because right now, at least 3 of these 5 foods are sitting in your refrigerator, waiting to be reheated tonight. Let us begin with the one that will shock you the most. I guarantee it. Because this is something the entire health and wellness world has been encouraging you to eat more of for the past 20 years. Think about those golden, crispy fries left over from yesterday. The ones you covered up telling yourself you would finish them tomorrow. That fried chicken you wrapped carefully in foil because it seemed like a shame to throw it away. That leftover spring roll sitting in the corner of your fridge. What do you do the next day? You probably microwave it. Or worse, you heat a little fresh oil in the pan to make it crispy again. And that is the exact moment you activate inside that food a chemical process against which your pancreas has virtually no defense. Here is what almost nobody tells you. Cooking oils, specifically the ones most people have on their shelf right now, sunflower oil, corn oil, soybean oil, are extremely unstable under heat. When you heat them a second time, they undergo deep oxidative breakdown, and that process generates a class of toxic compound called aldehydes. The 2 most dangerous ones carry names you probably cannot pronounce. 4-hydroxynonenal, malondialdehyde. But you do not need to remember those names. You just need to understand what they do to your body. The free radicals released by reheated oil are like hundreds of sparks flying out of an uncontrolled fire. Each one small, flying randomly in every direction, landing on your healthy cells, destroying them from the inside. including the DNA that tells every cell how to grow, when to stop, and when to die the way it is supposed to. When that code becomes corrupted enough, the cell stops following instructions. It starts multiplying when it should not. That is how cancer begins. And here is what is terrifying. Your pancreas is one of the organs most vulnerable to this specific type of assault. When you eat foods loaded with these aldehyde compounds, your body triggers a full inflammatory response, trying to contain the damage. But if you eat reheated fried food several times a week, and I am asking you to stop right now and honestly think about this, how many times have you reheated something fried this week? Comment that number below. Because here is what that habit does to your body every single time. Your body never manages to shut off that inflammatory response. A permanently inflamed pancreas is a pancreas trying to perform delicate precision work inside a burning building. Every enzyme it tries to produce, every signal it tries to send, every cell it tries to protect, all of it happening inside a chemical war zone it was never designed for. Eventually, it cannot keep up. And when it stops keeping up, you receive no warning. You simply receive a diagnosis. You may be feeling signs of this right now as you listen, and you are explaining them away as something else entirely. A dull heaviness in the upper abdomen after meals that you keep attributing to overeating. An unexplained fatigue that settles in specifically after eating, which you blame on a long day. A vague discomfort just under the ribs that comes and goes, which you call bad digestion. It might not be bad digestion. So how do you protect yourself? Rule number 1, non-negotiable. Never reheat food that has been cooked in oil using more oil. Not fresh oil, not the same oil, never. Use a dry oven at 350 degrees or an air fryer. Dry heat restores the texture without a single drop of new chemical damage. Rule number 2, frying oil is single use. You fry today, you discard the oil today. Because that comparison, a bottle of oil versus not having pancreatic cancer, that is the real choice you are making every week without even knowing you are making it. Now prepare yourself, because the second food on this list is going to surprise you far more than the first. I know this because it is something I myself recommended to patients for years. Something that appears on every superfoods list ever written. Something that every nutrition expert on the planet calls one of the healthiest things you can possibly eat. And when you reheat it, it transforms into something it absolutely should not be. Picture a Sunday evening. You cook a beautiful pan of spinach sautéed with garlic and olive oil, deep green, perfectly wilted. You feel genuinely good about yourself. You are eating healthy. You are eating your greens. You are doing exactly what you are supposed to do. You put the leftovers in a container in the refrigerator. Monday at lunch, you take them out and microwave them for 90 seconds. The smell is exactly the same. The look is exactly the same. The taste is exactly the same. And while you eat, that second round of heat just triggered a chemical reaction inside those spinach leaves that the World Health Organization has officially linked to cancer risk. Here is what happens inside that container. All leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard, arugula, all of them contain naturally occurring compounds called nitrates. Fresh, they are completely harmless, zero problem. But when you cook these vegetables and let them sit, the bacteria naturally present in food begin converting those harmless nitrates into something called nitrites. And when you apply heat a second time, those nitrites react with amino acids present in the food and form compounds called nitrosamines. Burn that word into your memory. nitrosamines. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies nitrosamines as probable human carcinogens, and they are genotoxic, meaning they penetrate directly into the nucleus of your cells and damage your DNA, not from the outside, from the genetic machinery itself. Think about your DNA as the master blueprint your body uses to build and repair everything it is made of. Nitrosamines are like someone breaking into the blueprint room every few days and quietly changing a measurement, erasing an instruction. Your repair systems catch most of them, but not all. Over months and years of repeated exposure, the accumulated corruptions in that blueprint begin producing cells that do not behave the way they should. And here is what is particularly terrifying when it comes specifically to your pancreas. Once nitrosamines enter your bloodstream after that reheated spinach, they travel to every organ your blood reaches. And the pancreas is called upon again and again in the detoxification effort, week after week, bathed in genotoxic compounds, while simultaneously being forced into chronic biochemical stress. How many times this week did you cook leafy greens and reheat them the next day? Write the real number in the comments, because most people do this in complete innocence, and that innocence is precisely what makes it dangerous. The solution: eat your cooked greens cold. Cold cooked spinach in a grain bowl, tossed into a salad, folded into a wrap. Every nutrient is still there. Zero nitrosamine formation because there is no second heating. If you need them warm, cook only what you are going to eat right now. Not a batch for the week, just this meal. And if you must reheat, only once. Every additional reheating cycle multiplies nitrosamine formation. That is not a metaphor, that is chemistry. Now the third food, and this one I believe will be the most surprising thing we cover today, because it is the most innocent-looking food imaginable. No strong flavor, no strong smell. And the danger it contains cannot be detected by any of your senses. Think about the pot of rice you made a few days ago. You prepared a large batch because it is more practical that way. You reheat portions every day, completely normal. Every household on the planet does this. And hidden inside that rice, from the moment it finished cooking and began to cool down, a biological process unfolds silently that most people have never been warned about. I need to introduce you to a bacteria called Bacillus cereus. This organism is present in raw rice from any supermarket anywhere in the world. Cooking kills the active bacteria, but it does not kill the spores. A spore is a hardened biological survival structure that certain bacteria produce specifically to survive conditions that would normally kill them. Boiling water cannot destroy them. Normal cooking temperatures do not affect them. They remain dormant in your perfectly cooked rice, completely invisible, undetectable by any smell or taste. Waiting for the temperature to drop into their ideal multiplication range, which is exactly the temperature of your kitchen counter when that rice cools down after cooking. The moment the temperature drops, those spores wake up, multiply, and produce toxins. And here is the detail that matters most. One of those toxins is heat stable. When you microwave that rice the next day, you kill the living bacteria, but the toxin they already produced during their multiplication, your microwave does not touch it. It survives reheating completely intact and enters your body in perfect working condition. Think of it this way. Imagine a factory producing toxic chemicals in your basement without your knowledge. You discover it and shut it down. You turn off all the machines. But the barrels already produced before the shutdown are still there in the warehouse. Your microwave shuts down the factory. But the barrels are already in your bowl and you are about to eat them. Now here is the connection to the pancreas. Chronic low-level exposure to these toxins, even without a full dramatic food poisoning episode every single time, creates chronic low-intensity inflammation throughout your gut. And science has clearly mapped what researchers call the gut-pancreas axis. Your gut and your pancreas share a blood supply, lymphatic drainage, and inflammatory signaling pathways. A chronically inflamed gut sends its inflammatory signals directly to your pancreas, every time, without exception. How many days has the rice in your refrigerator been sitting there right now? 1 day? 3 days? A week? Comment the real number, because that number tells you exactly what level of risk you have silently accepted. The solution: cool cooked rice within 1 hour of cooking. Spread it in a wide, shallow layer, not a pile. The greater the surface area, the faster the cooling, the less time spores have to activate. Eat it within 24 hours. Reheat it fully until it is steaming throughout. Then eat it completely. Do not put it back in the refrigerator after reheating it once. These are not complicated rules. They are simply rules that most people have never been taught. Now, the fourth food. Almost every family eats this several times a week. And the danger here comes from a specific characteristic of a very common household appliance that creates invisible zones inside food that looks perfectly safe from the outside. You made roasted chicken thighs last night, golden, perfectly cooked through to the center. You stored them in a container in the refrigerator. Today at noon, you placed 2 pieces on a plate, microwave them for 2 minutes, touch the outside, it is warm, and you eat. A completely ordinary Tuesday in millions of households. And the way that reheating happened, microwave, 2 minutes, touch and check the outside, is precisely where the danger lives. Here is something most people do not know. A microwave does not heat food the way an oven does. It excites water molecules inside the food to generate heat. But different parts of the same piece of chicken have different water content, different densities, different fat distributions. Some parts reach temperatures that kill bacteria. Other parts, just a few centimeters away, stay at exactly the temperature where bacteria not only survive, but actively multiply. These are called cold spots. You cannot see them. You cannot feel them from the outside. The exterior can be burning hot while the center sits at the precise temperature that dangerous bacteria prefer. 2 bacteria make this particularly terrifying with chicken: Salmonella and Campylobacter. Both present in raw poultry at very high rates. Proper initial cooking eliminates them, but recontamination after cooking is entirely possible. On your hands, on the counter, on utensils. And those cold spots in your microwave chicken are warm, moist, protein-rich environments, not death zones for bacteria, incubators. A salmonella infection is not a mild afternoon discomfort. It is a full systemic biological event: high fever, violent cramping, persistent vomiting and diarrhea. Your entire immune system mobilized for war. And while that war rages through your gut, your pancreas is not watching from the sidelines. It is pulled into the inflammatory response every single time. And here is what concerns me most as a physician. A dramatic, full-blown infection is not the only way this damages you. Repeated doses too low to knock you completely flat, but sufficient to keep your gut in a state of chronic, low-intensity inflammation. Those are the exposures that accumulate silently over years into conditions your pancreas simply cannot escape. Be honest right now. When you reheat chicken, do you verify that it is steaming throughout the thickest part? Or do you touch the outside and assume the inside matches? That gap between assumption and reality is exactly where salmonella lives. The solution. Use the oven at 350 degrees, covered tightly with foil, 15 to 20 minutes. The trapped moist heat reaches every part uniformly, no cold spots anywhere. If you must use a microwave, cut the chicken into small, uniform pieces. Use medium power, not maximum. Stop halfway through and rearrange everything. Then let it rest covered for 2 full minutes after heating, or eat it cold. Cold shredded chicken in a salad eliminates every risk we just discussed. 0 reheating, 0 cold spots, 0 inflammatory cascade reaching your pancreas. We have arrived at the 5th and final food. And this one is unique because it carries not one, but 2 completely separate chemical dangers happening simultaneously. 2 different attacks on your pancreas from a single bowl of leftovers. Think about last Sunday's roasted potatoes. Perfect. Golden and crispy on the outside, soft and pillowy inside. You made a whole tray. Monday evening you pull them out, toss them in a pan with a little oil to make them crispy again. You eat them feeling completely satisfied. And right now, inside those potatoes, 2 completely independent chemical processes are attacking your pancreas from 2 different angles at the same time. The first attack comes from a compound called acrylamide. The International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies it as a probable human carcinogen. It forms when starchy foods are exposed to temperatures above 250 degrees. That golden color you love on a perfectly roasted potato, that crispiness, that is the Maillard reaction. And acrylamide forms as part of that exact same process. Here is what makes reheated potatoes specifically more dangerous than freshly cooked ones. When a potato is cooked once and then refrigerated, its surface dries out. The sugars and amino acids concentrate on that dried surface. When you apply high heat a second time, the chemical conditions for acrylamide formation are more favorable than they were during the first cooking. You may be absorbing a significantly higher carcinogen load from your reheated potatoes than you did from the original meal. That is the first attack. Direct carcinogenic damage to pancreatic cells. Now the second attack. This one drains your pancreas in a way that accumulates silently over years. When potatoes are cooked and then cooled completely in the refrigerator, something remarkable happens. A portion of the ordinary starch inside converts into resistant starch. Resistant starch is genuinely protective. It moderates your blood sugar. It slows glucose absorption. It feeds beneficial gut bacteria. A cold cooked potato is metabolically a completely different food from a hot one. The moment you reheat that potato over high heat, that resistant starch converts back into rapidly digested ordinary starch. The beneficial transformation that happened during cooling is destroyed in 90 seconds in your microwave. What was gentle on your blood sugar is now a spike. And who responds to that spike? Your pancreas. Specifically, the beta cells that produce insulin, forced into a sudden, massive, urgent release, once completely normal. But 3 times a week, every week, for years. Those beta cells are subjected to repeated emergency production events. They fatigue. They become less responsive. they degrade. And the progressive exhaustion of beta cells is a documented pathway toward the chronic conditions that precede pancreatic cancer. 2 attacks at the same time, every single time you reheat those potatoes. And if you refry them in oil, you layer the dangers of the first food onto those of the fifth. Maximum acrylamide, maximum oil oxidation. Every risk from this entire conversation concentrated in a single dish. How many times this week have you reheated potatoes? Comment the real number right now. The solution. Eat your cooked potatoes cold as often as you possibly can. A cold potato salad with good olive oil, a little vinegar, fresh herbs. It sounds strange until you try it. You preserve all the resistant starch. You eliminate the extra acrylamide. And you give your pancreatic beta cells a meal they do not have to fight against. If you need them warm, steam them or use the lowest heat that just takes the chill off. Warm, not scalding. And never refry a potato that has already been cooked. A freshly fried potato is a completely different chemical event from a cooked potato fried a second time. We have now covered all 5, and before you close this out, I need to tell you something that matters more than all the information we just went through. If you have been doing these things for years, it is not too late. The resilience of the human body genuinely surprises me after all my years in medicine. Chronic inflammation can recede. Damaged cells are constantly replaced by new ones. The conditions we talked about are not a sentence. They are a starting point. And every better choice you make from this moment forward moves you in the right direction. What I am asking you to take away from this today is not fear. Fear paralyzes. What I am asking you to take away is the specific practical knowledge that allows you to make one single different choice tonight. When you open that refrigerator, here is what you now know. Fried foods? Reheat them dry in an oven or air fryer, never in oil. Leafy greens? Eat them cold or cook only what you need right now. Rice? Cool it fast. Refrigerate it within the hour. Eat it within 24 hours. Chicken? Use the oven, not the microwave, or eat it cold. Potatoes? Cold as often as possible or on the lowest heat, and never refry them. Small habits. Practice consistently over months and years. Your pancreas works for you in absolute silence every single day of your life, without ever asking for anything in return. It regulates your blood sugar while you sleep. It produces the enzymes that break down every meal you eat. It does all of this without a single complaint, without a single alarm, without ever asking you to notice it. Start giving something back. I am Dr. Kareem. If this gave you something real today, think of one person you love right now, your mother, your partner, your closest friend, someone who reheats rice every single day and has never heard any of this. Someone who reheats fried food every week and has no idea what that second round of heat is doing inside their body. Send this to them now, not tomorrow, right now, because the information you just received is not yours to keep. It belongs to every person in your life who deserves to know it. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.